What's up, Closer Nation? I got to run some errands, and I thought I would share with you a powerful sales lesson that I've witnessed in the last couple of days. So if you want to see the sales lesson, leave me a comment below. I believe this is my first time to ever like do a YouTube live. Like I've been doing YouTube videos for a long time. I have like 1,600 of them, but I believe this is the first time I have ever actually just streamed live. I typically stream live to Facebook, but I thought, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit different today. I'm going to stream to my people on YouTube. That's what I'm saying. You get it first. So I have witnessed this amazing psychological sales tactic take place, and I never thought I would see it happen on such a grand scale. And the guy that executed it is Donald Trump. Now listen, I've been around long enough to know that if you use the two words Donald Trump, or hell, even if you just say Trump, people get all mad and they say you're a fucking loser and you're racist and all this other stuff in the comments, right? I'm totally prepared for that. This post has nothing to do with whether you actually like the guy or not. If you like the president, fine. If you don't like the president, that's fine too. But what he's done is undeniably, whether it was him or his team or whoever you want to give the credit to, what he's done and what he's executed is undeniably brilliant, and it's one of the greatest sales and marketing lessons that you can learn. And what it is Donald Trump has like cajole, whatever that word is, right? He's tricked the fucking people that hate him into associating his name with the word genius. Now, you might say, well, yeah, but they're doing it sarcastically. And yes, they are doing it sarcastically. They're saying things like stable genius and I'm a genius and all these things, right? But what's happened is word association. The word genius is a very positively associated word. So let's just go back to, let's just pretend like everybody doesn't have to be dumb. Everybody doesn't have to be smart for this to work. It just works because of word association. So what happens is words that have pause, like there is no negative connotation whatsoever with the word genius. And see, psychologically, since we learned the English language, since we learned the word genius, we've been told that anybody associated with that name is somebody with above average intelligence, brilliance, rather. And now, because of that, we don't use that word lightly. We don't use that word loosely. If somebody calls you a genius, like you're smart, it's like DJ Khaled said, you smart. If somebody calls you a genius, that is a hell of a compliment. And even really when someone is cutting you down and they're saying, oh, it's fucking genius, right? It's still subconsciously, that doesn't, nobody's ever like called you a genius and then you wanted to fight them, even though they might have said it in a negative connotation. And that's cold as a polar bear's balls out here. My nose is running a little bit. I just cranked this truck. Forgive me. It's not Coke, y'all. I hadn't been with hookers and blow. I've been at home with wife and kids. Anyway, so the thing is, the word genius has no negative connotation whatsoever around it. However, he knew that if he used it, his enemies, the people that didn't like him, would become his biggest advocates because they would start sarcastically associating that word genius, the word genius, with his name. And so they'd be like, Trump's a genius. Trump's a stable genius. But what happens is because of the particular use of the word, now, whoever is on Trump's team, whether it's him or the people that he hires, because look, you don't have to be smart to hire smart people. Who are not smart at all, but they have smart people behind the scenes working for them, therefore have made a ton of money. We all know somebody who's not smart. The hell, I'm not smart, and I've made a decent amount of money here, and I've only been in business for less than 10 years for myself at this point, and way less than 10 years. And so I say all that because there's this lizard brain inside of us that certain words trigger us. So whoever's on his team knows these psychological hacks. And I mean, if you think about it, the guy's the president. He's got people on the CIA working for him. He's got people in the FBI working for him, and people that you and I don't even know exist, but are some of the most Jedi mind trick, psychological psyop, psycho hacking. Like, there's some of the baddest motherfucking intellectual people on the planet. That's why the U.S. government pays them and they work for them, right? Like, the most brilliant people are not the billionaires, generally, are not the billionaires that we know, such as Bill Gates and Elon Musk. The most brilliant people are typically somebody working for them, and a lot of the most brilliant people get acquired by the U.S. government. The U.S. government says, hey, we print money, just name your price. So I say that because whoever's on his team that's picking this, because this ain't the first time that he's done this, that's picking this shit is crushing it. So here's what they do is he says, first of all, he makes one move and he says, I'm a genius, a very stable genius. And so all of a sudden people start saying stable genius, he's a genius, he's a genius. And they're saying it sarcastically. But listen, when you're reading it, when you read it in the news, when you read it on social media, when your eyes see it, but your ears don't hear, because listen, 47% of communication is tonality. 47% of communication is tonality, the way that your voice inflection is. So the difference between saying he's genius and he's genius, right? The difference is same words. The difference is the inflection, the tonality in my voice. That's sales lesson number one, because if you use tonality correctly, you can make a lot more sales. You know, buy my shit is a lot better than buy my shit. You see what I'm saying in the world of trying to, coax somebody to do business with you. Now, this word genius that he's anchored in there, when people read it, they're not reading it with sarcasm, right? Maybe the 1% of people that actually do decipher things on words, because that's not the way the masses work. They probably are reading it as sarcastic. However, everybody else, even though they want to read it as sarcastic, psychologically and subconsciously, it's programming them that it's true. So what's going to happen? Mark my words. What's going to happen is now there's been millions of times, millions just in the last couple of days, that somebody has associated Trump's name with the word genius. Well, now what's going to happen? Excuse me again. It's like 40 degrees here in Texas. If you live in Minnesota, that's like saying it's a negative 100. My nose is running, my sinuses, all this shit. So anyway, so the thing that's going to happen is in 6 months, people are just going to get used to like, Trump, he's stable genius. Because one thing that Trump does that most salespeople won't do, and I'm going to give you some examples here in a second to help you in your sales game, but he repeats something whether people challenge him or not. So if he says he's a genius and everybody tries to say that he's not a genius, but he never fucking backs down, and to the point to where they quit trying to even convince him that he's not a fucking genius, and then they just accept it. Think of how relentless that is. You should be that way in your sales, not condescending and not mean or anything like that. But if you keep pursuing them, there is a point that they will stop and say, you know what, it's just fucking, he ain't gonna quit, might as well do business with him. I'll give you an example. There's a lady named Dana Croft. She sold me my app, the Hardcore Closer app. You can get it by texting the word closer to 44222. Again, that's closer to 44222. You can get my app absolutely free on your phone. The lady that sold me the software to build this app, her name's Dana Croft. For 2 years, she hit me up at least once a month trying to sell me this damn app. And for 2 years, I told her, fuck off, go away, I'm busy, I don't want your app, I already got an app, already everything. But at one point I went, you know what, she's not going to go anywhere till I buy this fucking thing. I might as well at least fucking advise her for her follow-up, right? I can appreciate that as a salesperson and buy it. Because see, I didn't want to be mean to Dana, but I'd already spent money on an app and already had one. And it's one of those things where, you're psychologically connected to something and didn't want to switch up with it. However, her relentless follow-up over the period of about 2 years eventually made me say, you know what, fuck it. And now I'm really glad, because I took the chance. I'm the all-time leader for CarTap. Nobody even has near what I have as far as subscribers, because that app that you can get by texting closer to 44222 is bad to the motherfucking bone, y'all. And so we have tons of users on there. It's a huge community. And I'm glad that I ultimately did that. Now, the reason why I say that is Trump knows this principle, that if he sticks to it, then eventually people will back down. I have Indian friends, right? Like from India, the country. And they are hell of salespeople, right? My friends. And they are hell of salespeople. And one of them told me one time, he said, here's the great thing about selling in America, Mr. Stewman. He says in America, people, especially in the South, people don't like to repeatedly say no, and people don't like to argue out of polite sake. So if you just keep pressing the issue, they'll buy whatever the fuck you're pushing. And that's a hardcore sales way, but hey, it works. It's true. It's true. And so the other thing that Trump did was, or whoever is in charge of his account, he used the phrase, again, pay attention to the words here, and then I'm going to tell you how to insert this into your business. But he used the words smart, like really smart. And because he threw that one word like in there, he knows that all the people that troll him and hate him and are offended by him, because I know this too, if I make a spelling error on one of my blogs or on one of my Facebook posts, people just lose their mind. He's not as smart as he thought he was. He doesn't know the difference between there and there, right? Like that's how people are these days. And so I know that. And since I know that, if I want people to talk and stuff, I can make a spelling mistake. Well, that's what Trump did by his team did. Well, I'm not going to like give him the credit or not. Whoever's on his team that handles this shit, whether he's a part of that or not, put that word like in there to watch people have something to fucking pick them apart on so that he could spread further the stable genius moniker. Then he came out this week and at the same time, just like think of the timing on this and had his doctor say he was in perfect mental health. Now, 6 months from now, if his enemies, this is the crazy thing, the people that hate him are the ones that are spreading and being his best marketers right now. Now, how can you use this deep psychological like mind hack principle? Basically some CIA shit, right? I mean, he's the fucking president of the United States. This guy has all the resources in the world. He's got the best resources in the world to learn. Imagine if you could go talk to the director of CIA and go, tell me how to get inside a motherfucker's mind and get him to buy a car. Tell me how to get inside of a motherfucker's mind and tell me how to get him to buy coaching. Right? And imagine if you could get lectured from that dude. Forget me and Grant Cardone or Jordan Belfort or whoever. That guy had sold people into giving away their families and treason and everything. They know those deep psychological hacks. The president has access to those people. And so does his team, whoever he authorized. Now, saying all that, how can you use this in your business? Well, suppose you want to embed the word expert alongside your name. And so when I first see the customer, first thing I'm gonna do is like, hey, absolutely. So are you looking for an expert? Awesome. Well, you found one today. You get to work with me later on in the conversation. Well, according to, my personal experience and expertise, here's what I would recommend for you. Later on in the conversation, when you're closer to the closing, you say, as an expert, I can always advise you to do X, Y, Z. And see, what you're doing is as you're going through the stages of the sale, you're associating your name, yourself, with expert. Well, what happens just because the way that we're programmed with these lizard brains as humans, the way that we're programmed, what happens is they associate you with being the expert. Now, when you get down to the end of the sale, after you've done this 5 or 6 times, you've got them to associate by body language. I'm almost there, y'all. Because we're talking 37, 57, 6, right? That's how it works. And so it's 57% body language, 37% tonality, and it's 6% the words that you're actually using when it comes to communication, right? That's like a well-known fact. You can look it up. It's even in the book, The Conversion Code by Chris Smith, which I mentioned before. Now, here's the thing, though. When you get them to associate your name alongside of expert 5, 6, 7, 8 times, well, what happens is they at the end of the sale, when you say, and they give you any flack, it's like, but you'd prefer to get your advice and take a chance on doing business with an expert, like you said earlier. Agreed? Yes, I am that expert. They will 9 times out of 10, because of the fact that you've deeply ingrained, you've deeply anchored the fact that you are the expert, they're going to take your advice and close the sale. And in most of the time, they're not even going to give you flack at the end because they're just going to assume that you're an expert because you've aligned your name and you've anchored your name alongside expert. That's just like a doctor. You assume he's an expert because his name's anchored alongside the word doctor. One word makes all the difference in the world. And so that's how you can use it in your deal. So whether you like Trump or not, whether you think, the president's a good president or not, he's used one of the greatest and simplest psych hacks that you could possibly use to get his name associated with one of the most powerful words in the English language. And you too can take advantage of just that if you'll simply just follow in his steps or whoever wrote his stuff. You notice how much I got to fucking dance, and I'm just going to talk for a minute freely. Do you notice how much I got to dance around fucking whether you like Trump or not? That is a fucking powerful set of things. Like, all business and sales aside, the fact that you got to be like, if you like them or don't, if you do, if you don't, you got to like take this stance where nobody gets all fucking, dude, it's fucking crazy world that we live in. But you know what? There's no better time to be alive. I'm driving a car that fucking basically, a truck that basically drives itself. I went and dropped one car off at the car wash, hit Uber, took a Uber ride with a complete stranger that totally trusted me to sit in the back of his car. I mean, it's a great time to be alive. Some people, they just choose to bitch. Some people are going to bitch about this video. He's talking about Trump. He's a Trump. Whatever the fuck. Hey, those of you that are smart can use this in your sales job and make some fucking sales by aligning yourself as the expert. That's what I'm talking about. Later, dog.